Hello, hello, hello. It's your new day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen, where we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. In our 30 minutes, we talk about your emotions and mind and how they tie into your body and spirit. We want you to renew and restore yourself in a world that wants you crazy. And sometimes we even talk about money. Introducing your hosts, Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen.
Okay, we're back, picking up where we left off last week, and go.
Here we go. So, this is the scoop. We are here to solve all your problems, or maybe just one. And we talk. We've been talking about grounding, and then we flew into an area where we can help you with your intention actually become something solid.
Yes,
moving forward.
So stay tuned. That's what we're talking about
today.
With all these assaults that we're getting from all the dirty energy coming through, all the terrible things they put in our food that
coming through the air right now.
Yes. And I liked what you sent me about Alexa. You know, we talk about chemtrails, and I see the heavy metal toxicity all the time in my clients. But if you could try this, just ask Alexa or your phone. What are they spraying
in the air today?
And she will tell you
exactly.
Yes,
it's a portion of this and this and this, and you're like, wow, even Alexa knows that there's poisons coming out into the environment. It's not a conspiracy theory.
No, it's actually true. But we have all these assaults that are actually affecting our terrain and affecting how acidic our system is or how positively charged it is. And so we have to do something to drain off that positive charge and get some electrons flowing. The cheapest, easiest thing is to get on the ground. And I mean, if you're sick and you're feeling terrible and you don't have any energy, go ahead and lay on the ground. If you could do it naked, it's even better. Get as much skin touching the ground as possible. And it will really change how you feel. If you're feeling really down and just and I don't know, and just go lay on the ground. It's amazing what it'll do. And doing it out in the sun is even more.
And if you don't have sun, though, I mean, just practical question. If you laid, because I wouldn't be opposed to doing this, crazy as it is. I mean, I would go lay out in the rain on the grass if I need to, but would it matter whether it's raining or not? Does that impact the electrical charge or what have you?
No.
I was just curious because
it does not. But it's required for life and health and vitality. It's required. And it's, again, one of those things that whoever we want to call they are,
the powers that be,
has really made the life that we've been pushed into pulled away from that. There's concrete everywhere. The lighting,
even playgrounds are now sometimes just concrete.
Yeah.
Instead of like sand, like I grew up.
Yes, and there's very little in our everyday life. There's very little push to actually touch the earth. All our shoes have rubber in them. The cars we're in are rubber, rubber tires. And then all the energy that they make these buildings out of, even if they're green, they're still dirty energy. Many of them have dirty energy in them that affects our physical body. There's now newer types of illnesses that, if you watch Better Call Saul, which is a really great show, by the way, one of the characters in there is greatly affected by EMFs and dirty energy, and they make him out like a wackadoodle on the show, which is a subliminal thing of saying, don't worry about that. We're just going to keep poisoning you and you shut up about it.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I can say that is one thing that it's very difficult because many people use their Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Their livelihoods depend on it.
Yes.
We have people that work at home now more than any time probably in history, at least in the U.S., and the Wi-Fi is important. 5G is come a thing, and I'm sure there's more G's to come. So, and there are things we can purchase to help protect us. I know that, but how do you walk through that water? How do you recognize if you have that kind of poison? Because when you look it up, it's, oh, there's just too little for it to matter. And in my brain, I'm thinking, well, it might be too little to matter if you did it once, but if you do it every day for the next 3 years, I can see you getting sick.
Well, talk to the bees about that. If you take an old school phone, and not even this kind of phone with this kind of EMFs coming off of it, but an old, back in the day, in the 80s kind of phone, that's a cordless phone, and you put it at a beehive, those bees will not come out to that hive again. And they can't find it. They can't find the hive.
Because it like poisons their atmosphere?
The energetic signaling coming off of there throws their host sonar off and everything. They can't find out where they are. They don't know where they are. That's just bees. There's so many birds and different animals that use sonar and use that kind of location, knowing where they are in the world and on the planet. And all of these EMFs and all that have greatly affected so many species of animals right now that we're, and we're being affected as well.
Yes.
Just Google how much cancer started by a phone in the breast. Women that used to wear their phones, inside their bra. There's a big.
Now the men are putting it right here in their front pocket,
yes.
Which that's a little close for comfort.
Testicular cancer. It's not even that. Most men. A lot of men used to drive with their phone just tucked right there, and don't do that, guys. Don't do it. If you like the boys, don't do it.
Oh, and the waiters and waitresses, when you go to a restaurant, they all have them in the back pocket.
Yeah, it's just there are things you can place on your devices and place on your person that can help dissipate and discharge that negative really positive charges. To discharge that off, we have jewelry that I promote here that does that. There's lots of ways you can do it, or you can just do it for free and go out every day and be religious about looking at the sun for about 10 minutes, very early morning sun, directly gazing at the sun actually gets into your retinas and actually recharges your body that way. And then you can actually sit and put your feet on the ground. So
these are excellent things. So who is going to go outside tomorrow or today who hasn't been outside in a while? Who's going to be courageous, do a little research, so if you're a little confused or you don't know what to do, who is going to take action? That's the question. So I'm going to take action. And there's a lot of cement around here, but as soon as I get home, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to walk on my grass again, because I haven't done that in a few days. And I'm one of these who wears the cork and that kind of thing underneath my feet most of the time. And so who's going to take action? I want to hear from you. Transformyouremotions.com. I want you to go in and leave a little message. Tell us what you're doing. And we'd love to know who's actually taking action, because.
And I want to add, if you don't want to do it for yourself, think of your four-legged friends. I had a vet that I was talking to about this, and he says, interesting, since all of this started and more animals are brought into the house and never go outside, the animals are not grounding, and they are getting the same illnesses that people are now that we used to never see in animals, and it's because they're not grounding. And I had a dog that was ill, and she went out and dug a hole in the ground and got in the ground in the dirt to heal herself and to discharge. Yeah, she felt much better after she did that. So get your animals out as well and ground your animals as much as you're grounding yourself.
That makes sense. I have a friend who's got 2 large dogs, and every day they take them for a walk in the morning and one at night, and they have freedom to come and go, and they go outside and they lay on the grass.
Yes, they do.
I mean, they know to go lay on the grass. They don't just lay down on the little porch. They go lay out on the grass.
They do.
And they come back in and they love their walks, and they're very healthy. But I could see where if they just stayed inside, I mean, what animal was meant to be indoors anyway, like that?
They're not. And it's interesting. I've had people in my family even come and chastise me because my dogs are outside a lot. And I said, my dogs require being outside, just like your dogs are required to be outside. And it's important that they go outside. And actually, my dogs prefer to be outside than inside. And we have a nice big yard they can run in, but they definitely will go out and just sprawl in the grass. So one of the things that we can do to help increase the electrons in the body, I use a device that is a high voltage device that actually pushes electrons into the bloodstream where they're collected by the red blood cells. So we can do it needleless or with a needle to transcend the skin to get in, because our body's like a Faraday cage. And if you don't know what a Faraday cage is, you can look it up, but it's actually holds in all the electricity in like a force field around our body. And that's what acupuncture looks for and does, is actually punch through that Faraday cage and pull in electrons from the earth in the field. That's what it's doing.
Really?
Yes. And so we've taken that to the next level of actually putting a high voltage machine that actually pumps more electrons in, more negative charge in to certain parts of the circuitry. So we can do that. And what were we talking about before that
before we got to talk about how affects the body, we're talking about animals. And how animals love to be grounded, and how we can ground ourselves, and how important it is that
you can edit all this out. But what I was thinking about with him is looking at being able to supercharge the body and the meridian system. So like I said before, every cell needs a negative 20 millivolt charge to work correctly. When that starts waning and then things aren't working as they should, we can put electrons in through these two arteries here. One is the ulnar artery, radial artery here. And what that does is these high voltage machines can actually transcend the skin without any needles. And it needs at least to be a 20 volt charge to push through the skin. And so this red blood cells come by, they pick up several electrons and then go around and deposit them where they need. There is a cell somewhere in the body that's more positively charged. So if it bumps against one of these cells that has a negative electron to spare, then it'll do that. It'll donate it, and then it'll come back by and get another one. So this is very interesting. When you go to the regular doctor and they do labs on you, they actually kill the blood, stain it, and then look at it and try to discern what's happening in the body. It's a dead body. If you look at, you have two bodies, okay? You have two people that are laying, let's say we have twins, and one twin is alive and one twin is dead. What makes them different? Because physically, if you examine them physically, the same minerals, the same actual...
Their breath.
Yes, there's actually essence and energy and light in the live body.
Mm-hmm.
There's no light in the dead body. But if you were to take and take a sample of blood from each of them, under the microscope, they're going to look the same because they kill both blood. And,
wow!
And they're looking at it, and there's no light in either one of them, so they probably couldn't tell which one was alive and which one was dead, because everything else is going to look the same.
Okay, so I'm so sorry, not trying to tangent us, but if you have someone that's not breathing and you draw blood, their cells are no longer alive, but aren't the cells alive over in the live person?
Yeah, but by the time they get to the lab, they're going to kill them to look at them.
Man.
So if you I could tell by looking at live blood, you can look at a live blood. So when you look at live blood, you can actually see the red blood cells, if they have zeta potential.
Sticky or loose.
Sticky or loose.
Okay.
And you can see the white blood cells, or they, they should be a little bigger than the red blood cells and going around and moving and coming and gobbling up other, macrophages, all this good stuff. You can see that in live blood analysis. So you can tell what somebody's terrain looks like, what they're at. We can do a whole thing on terrain.
Wow.
But you can look and see how their blood looks. What's interesting, and this is in the quantum world that's very fascinating to me, if I take blood from you, you're very sick. Let's say you come in, you're not feeling well and you're sick. And I take blood from you and put it on my slide, and it's live blood, and I look at it and I say, yeah, your cells are all stuck together and your white blood cells aren't really doing anything. They're kind of very sluggish and barely moving. And then I do what I call blood electrification, where I put the probes on the arteries. Within 30 minutes, I have significantly improved your immune system.
Wow.
And you can actually see it on the blood that was in the body, but it's quantumly entangled with this body. So your body's here and it's on the slide over here. I can watch it change from here as we improve your terrain.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It's mind blowing. I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it for myself. But we now know with studies that people are doing these kind of electric medicine, is what's called, and I really feel like a pioneer in this, because it's I would say it's new in the world of the conversation, but Chinese medicine's known about it for 6,000 years, so it's not really new. But we're now putting science on it to actually verify and be able to show the naysayers, see, this is what's happening. If you need to know, the Chinese medicine folks from so many thousands of years ago didn't really need to know all the hows and the whys, because back then spirituality and science were connected.
That's right.
We have effectively disconnected them, and if you talk at all between putting the two together, then all of a sudden you're crazy and wacky and you're not in science and all that, and it's crazy. I'll tell a funny story. I was watching a physicist tell the story of he's a prodigy physicist, and at age 15 he was outperforming any physicist with the type of equations he was coming up with. So he went to this conference, and these there's this one book that's the Bible of the physicists, and we're talking Newtonian physics, not quantum physics. And it's the book with all the agreed upon, these are the equations we use, this is how we talk, So he brings the book, and he's like this snot-nosed 16-year-old that comes in and is asking the questions, because in academia these days, if you ask questions that question the mainstream, you were like, what are you talking about? We just talking about what we already know, and that's what we're going to talk about, and you hush. So anyway, he comes to this big conference, and the who's who of everybody in physics, and they're talking about the ever-expanding universe, and they depict this in this book like a balloon with all these pennies, glued on the outside, and showing that and it shows a person blowing the balloon, and as the balloon blows up, the pennies get large, farther away from each other, further away from. They're talking about all the equations for that, and so he gets up and he goes, I've read all these equations. I understand the expansion of the universe, and these are the equations I use, and blah, blah, blah. And they're, yeah. He goes, what I cannot find in this book or anywhere is the equation for this guy. And it's the guy blowing up the balloon.
So
that's the spiritual divine intelligence.
Oh, yes,
See,
yes.
When I saw that,
yep.
I belly laughed for 10 minutes over that. It was just amazing. And they were all looking at like, what? What are you talking to me? He goes, who is this guy? And where's the equation for this guy?
Excellent.
because they're just starting after the balloon is being blown up, and we're just not going to talk about there's somebody actually blowing up the balloon. Nobody's got time for that. But that's the question. That's putting the spiritual back into the science, because they are one in the same. They cannot be separated, and that's why science is so stifled right now, because what we've thought we've known in matter does not apply at the submatter level. That's where quantum physics comes in. And I know a little bit about this. I have a PhD in quantum physics, so I can speak about this. And when you start talking to the science guys in the matter, that doesn't, but all of their theories completely fall apart when they get into the quantum world. One of the very interesting, very famous type of experiment is called the double slit experiment, where they take electrons and they throw it into you can do it out in the sun and get the same results, but take something and have two slits in a cardboard and throw a particle at it. And if you're throwing, sometimes it goes in this side, sometimes it goes in this side. What you would expect on the back wall is just two lines of where the electrons would hit. If they were, could leave a mark, they would leave a mark, and it would be a nice little square that looked very close to the two slits. Well, what they found is, it did that sometimes, and then sometimes it made a wave where there was a pattern of 4 or 5, which was interference that you would expect from water, like a wave form, a wave pattern. And we could have, if we had visuals, we could put this up. But what they found, and you can look this up, and there's lots of YouTube videos on it that explains it. But what they found is it acts as a particle until it's observed. Once it's observed, it acts as a wave. It acts as a wave until it's observed, and then once it's observed, it actually becomes a particle. So these electrons are waves and particles at the same time. It's because it's what's called downward causation, where it actually is a wave of potential until it's actually observed, and as soon as it's observed, it is now in a particle form.
So are you saying that, well, let's just say it's us, we can change direction on something that's released by our observing it? Are we talking mostly now about the creator or creation or what have you? Where are you at with this?
It's creation. You are creating your reality by what you observe, and what you observe is your intention.
And that's what I was about to ask. So intention-wise, when we were talking about the blood, I know that in prayerful circles, religious circles, you can find where people pray for someone, and nothing happens. And then you can see where people have this intention attached to their prayer. Where you're not just praying blank words. It's like,
there's energy behind the words and feelings.
There's an emotion behind it, a be healed with it, a gathering them up and helping them effort, where you can literally feel it, right? That's when things can shift. So is that what we're talking about? We're talking about an intention. And does the creator have intention to cause us to turn into what you talked about?
Well, yes.
Let's open up a bucket of worms, Sister Fran.
Let's do it. Actually, there's really good studies on prayer, and they did a study in the ICU. It was double blind. The people in the ICU did not know they were being prayed for.
Oh,
and then there was a group that were not prayed for, and the prayed for group did significantly better.
Wow.
They also did a study in a little town where 300 people. I might have the numbers wrong. I have to look at it again. But this group of people prayed and sent intention, whatever word you want to use, to this particular little town. And the crime dropped 70% in that town for, I think it was 3 months. So it's got some grit to it,
yes,
too.
It does.
It'll stay a little bit. So Yes, where you send your attention and your intention is where your energy goes. And that energy is powered.
That's right.
So depending on how much emotion, that's energy in motion, is what emotions are. So if you have emotion with your words, and that's feeling it in your body, then it has some grit to it and some stick-to-itiveness to it.
And you know what we normally love to do? We love to help you have a new day for you. And so some of these this discussion maybe has seemed far away. But really, truly, the intention is that you can be empowered and you can be strengthened to create a new day just for you.
Yes.
So you might be lying in bed. We've talked about being in bed many times, about how just not having any get up and go. This is your opportunity to mentally come up with a new intention to get yourself up to go, right? There's also intention for perhaps you want a new career. Maybe you're not laying in bed. Maybe you're not full of despair and depression, but you have a thought that just won't go away. And you have an intention that you want to employ, but you haven't had the courage to do it yet because you just don't see that it's possible. It won't be possible without some kind of grit. So I just encourage you this week to explore what's the thought that won't go away, that's simmering in the back of your head, that you need to apply intention to, because it's waiting. It's a wave waiting, or it's a
potential.
It's a potential waiting to turn into something that has grit.
Yes, yes. You have that power. Whatever you intend, you can manifest and materialize. There's two different things. We talk about intention and manifestation. You hear that all over the place. You could manifest this, manifest that. That's fine. That's the intention, and you started the car. You have to have emotion behind that to actually materialize it. And that gives it the energy in motion.
And something I keep forgetting to say, which is my favorite thing, is we are here to solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. And we will see you next week. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining Your New Day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen. We look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. Until soon.